Next up, we're going to talk about preparing to apply. And before we can even talk about preparing to apply, the very first thing we have to figure out is what type of applicant you are. So we have 5 different types of applicants who apply to our programs, and each of these students have a slightly different set of criteria, a different application to fill out, and even different folks to contact for more information. So it is really, really important that you know which type of applicant you are and how to find all of those corresponding resources. So where can you get this information? The best place to go is just to our main CAS Transfer and Transition website. There you'll see we have a breakdown of all 5 applicant types, and then beneath each of these you'll find a definition, a link to their criteria, a link to their application, and information about who they can contact if they need additional support or have other questions at any given time. So let's go take a look at a couple of examples. If you're watching this video, you are likely a freshman engineering program FEP student. You should know who you are. You were admitted directly to this program from high school. We also have change of major students. These are students who are currently in CEAS majors who are hoping to apply to a new CEAS major. And then we also have transition or a change of college students. So these are any other students at UC who are hoping to apply to majors in CEAS, including our students at UC Blue Ash and UC Claremont. As I mentioned before, you can see the links for the criteria, the application, and info on who they can contact if needed. Now that we know what type of applicant we are, let's talk about what criteria you're going to be expected to meet to get into our majors. Even though we have all these different applicant types, we do have some overarching criteria, some buckets of requirements that are needed for each applicant type. So I'm going to go over these 4 overarching criteria, and then I'm going to do a breakdown of each one just so you feel really clear about what the expectation is. First, there are going to be some application considerations that are specific to your applicant type. These are things like semester or credit hour requirements. Again, I'll talk about these in just a moment. Then there are some minimum required courses, classes that you're going to have to pass before you can be accepted to the major. And then we're going to look at 2 different GPA numbers, your overall UC GPA, and then a funneled down version of your GPA that could include courses from outside of UC called your Math Science GPA. Let's take a closer look at those. Application considerations. Something that is true for everybody, 2 things that are true for everybody. The first is that there are other factors that might be considered. An example would be a student who had multiple instances of academic misconduct. That could play into our decision making about whether or not to accept that student to one of our programs. Something else to keep in mind is that students' official transition plan to the classes that they're going to take over the next few semesters and their timeline to co-op or graduation are officially determined after acceptance. So even as you are meeting with your advisor, meeting with folks in CEAS, something I want you to keep in mind is your graduation year, that first semester you're going to be co-oping. None of that is set in stone until it is truly official, until you have received that yes email, you have met your new advisor, and they have told you this is when you will graduate and this is when you can expect to co-op for the very first time. So those are the considerations that are true for everyone. And then we have some considerations that vary by applicant type. The first group, FEP, those students must complete 1 full semester in FEP. So they're admitted to the program from high school, and even if somehow they're meeting other criteria based on things they did prior to coming to UC, they're still going to have to spend 1 full semester in that program. These students also have guaranteed admission to CEAS majors, so some of our more competitive programs every once in a while have some capacity constraints, meaning some limitations to how many students can be accepted, and those capacity constraints just don't apply to FEP students. So for our other application types, those could come into play. It doesn't happen often, but it's something we would want to have on your radar, that in the event that you're applying to one of our more competitive majors with capacity constraints, meeting the minimum requirements doesn't necessarily guarantee your admission. Change of college students, same deal, and then you all have one extra requirement, and that is that you must have passed 24 UC credit hours. I want to emphasize that these are UC credit hours, so this will not include transfer credits or AP credits from other institutions or classes that you completed in high school, only classes that you have completed through the University of Cincinnati. Okay, that's it for the application considerations. Let's talk about what those minimum required courses are. So in general, every major has identified some classes that you have to pass in order to get in, and generally these are math and or science classes. And the purpose of having some minimum required courses is so that you demonstrate that you can be successful long-term in our math and science heavy curriculum. So if a program is asking you to pass Calc 1, it's to make sure you can do well in Calc 2, Calc 3, physics, statics, whatever is coming down the line in that particular major's curriculum. Okay, then let's take a look at those two GPA numbers. The first one is very, very straightforward, your overall UC GPA. Again, I want to emphasize this is a UC GPA, so it is only going to include UC courses. And this is actually a GPA that you can find right in Catalyst, and that's where we're going to pull it from when we review your application. The math science GPA is a little different, a little more far-reaching. We'll actually include AP or transfer credits in these calculations. The other thing I want you to know about the math and science GPA requirement is that it actually varies by major. So it's not just a calculation of all the math and science classes that you've taken, but actually it is your average GPA in all of the math and science classes that are required for the programs to which you're applying. So you could actually have several different math and science GPAs depending on which of those majors you are actually trying to get into. So to make this easy for you, you can of course come to the website, you can look at the breakdown, but something we've created to make this a little bit more manageable is this math and science GPA calculator. So I'm going to take you through really quickly how to use this just to make sure that you are comfortable. It'll be linked down below in the Canvas page. You can also type in this link here. And when you open it up, it's going to take you to Google Drive, and you're not going to be able to edit it directly here. You're actually going to want to go ahead and download it so we can enable the code that runs the different calculations for us. What does that mean? Up at the top, you're going to see a yellow bar. We're going to hit Enable Editing and Enable Content, and now this is fully ready for us to use. Okay, let's run through a quick scenario. I'm going to put in kind of a weird set of courses and a really surprising grouping of grades, but that's just to give you a really clear idea of how this might look for a particular student. So let's say a student has A's in chemistry, an A in calculus, and then they have an F in organic chemistry. When we hit this Update GPA Calculations button, what you're going to notice is that things look kind of weird here. So in a lot of the majors, even though the student earned an F in organic chemistry, they actually have a 4.0 math and science GPA because those majors don't take organic chemistry. Whereas for the ones that do, chemical engineering, environmental engineering, you'll notice that that GPA is being brought down significantly by the grade earned in that organic chemistry course. So again, you'll want to download this, play around with it, plug in the classes that you're taking, set up any transfer classes, just to make sure you really know where you stand and how we'll be calculating your GPA when the time comes that we're reviewing your application. If you are a student who has a lot of transfer credit, you've taken, like you're a physics major and you took the physics major physics course, anything weird going on or that doesn't feel straightforward, you are more than welcome to reach out to us at our CAS advising email address, and we can help you set up the calculator so you have a very clear idea of where you're going to stand in our process. Okay, that's all you need to know in terms of preparing to apply. You should be working very, very closely with your assigned advisor to make sure that you are following the curriculum as closely as possible, taking the appropriate minimum required courses, and on track to hit the GPA requirements. And when you are ready, the time will come for you to submit your application, and that is what we're going to talk about next. See you soon.